4 brutal words. 4 words that didn't just echo across a private room, they detonated across decades of loyalty, grief, and unspoken obligation. I am not an ATM. That is the sentence now ripping through London, slicing through reputation, memory, and everything Prince Harry thought was still quietly waiting for him behind closed doors. Because this wasn't said by a stranger, not by some distant billionaire or a cold business associate. This was Sir Elton John, the man who once stood at a piano while the world mourned Diana, the man who carried her memory in melody when Harry could barely carry it himself. And now, if the whispers are even half true, that same man has finally slammed the door on Diana's son, and the sound of that latch, people say it echoed louder than anything we've heard in years.
Elton is actually quite upset with Harry for several reasons. I have been told that he actually has asked Elton to give him some money for Invictus. Elton has said no.
Prince Harry may have to spend millions now, because loser typically pays when you lose a lawsuit in the UK, and he, to put it frankly, got his ass handed to him by this judge.
Some people have said he's going really off his rocker. You know, this has been so bad. It's literally the week where nothing went right. It's his worst week in 30 years. He used to have the Bank of England, and now he's got the Bank of Elton. Harry needs a lot of money for Invictus. The only reason he went to England this summer is to raise funds for Invictus Birmingham 2027. He is £25 million short.
And here's where it starts to feel less like gossip and more like a pattern unraveling in real time. Because friendships like that don't just collapse overnight. They fracture slowly, quietly, under pressure that builds until something finally snaps. 8 days ago, Prince Harry walked out of a London courtroom carrying something far heavier than disappointment. He walked out defeated. Completely, publicly, every single claim dismissed. 97 allegations reduced to nothing. And behind that defeat, a bill so staggering it's now being whispered at over £50 million. Not just his problem, not just his loss, a shared disaster, a group collapse, and among those standing in that courtroom wreckage, Elton John.
You lose the case, but I'm saying that he might have lost Elton John.
Yes.
This, he's apparently, Elton John's told him, this was according to Paula Freilich, I think you interviewed.
Yeah.
I'm not an ATM.
Now stop for a second, because this is where the timeline turns sharp. Because according to what's being said behind closed doors, Elton wasn't just a passive name on that list. Elton was bleeding money from a case Harry reportedly pushed forward. And then this is the detail that makes people pause. Harry went back. Not after the loss, not after the dust settled. Before the ruling even landed, when the storm was already forming, Harry reportedly returned to the same man. Asked again, not for legal support this time, something else entirely. And that's when the line was drawn. Quietly, firmly, I am not an ATM.
Elton John may be called upon for Harry's legal bills, because the legal bills, and I think we're about to find out in the next week how much he could be up for, could be in the tens of thousands. And that might actually bankrupt him, which would be a disaster, because let's be honest, every venture that these two have been on has been a disaster. I don't know how much money that they're getting. And so Elton, according to Paula, has had enough, because he might be the one that has to bail him out, because initially, before this case started, Elton had actually said that he would help Harry.
So settle in, because this isn't just about money. It never was. This is about a relationship that spans 30 years, one that started in grief and is now, apparently, ending in something far colder. A connection built at the very center of one of the most emotional moments in modern history. Because to understand why this moment feels so explosive, you have to go back to where it all began. Back to Diana.
He has $4 million from corporates and anonymous donors. He needs $25 million more. And this was supposed to be a big triumphant return. He was going to go glad hand people and really get them to open their wallets. They're not.
This wasn't a casual celebrity bond. This wasn't red carpet smiles and polite distance. Elton loved Diana deeply. When she died, it was Elton who rewrote his most iconic song, sat in Westminster Abbey in front of billions, and delivered something that still echoes decades later. Candle in the Wind, not a performance, a farewell, a moment so raw he never sang that version again, not once. He said it belonged to her. And when Diana was gone, Elton didn't disappear. He stayed, he watched, he protected. David Furnish himself described Elton as a parental figure to Harry. Not a friend, not an ally, a parental figure.
He walks into a room and people respond to him and they like him. He used to be fun.
Yeah.
He was a fun guy, but he's turned into an embittered middle-aged man. And he's going to have to be very careful because it bleeds into your everyday work, that you're just hostile and aggrieved.
Think about that, because once you understand that word, everything that follows feels different. This wasn't just support, this was guidance, protection, loyalty that doesn't get written into contracts. And you can trace it. Back in 2007, when Harry asked Elton to sing that same song again, Elton refused not out of distance, but out of care. Too painful, too raw. Instead, he played your song. Even then, he was shielding Harry from himself. Harry knew it too. He wrote about Elton with real affection, real gratitude. I loved him, I'll always love him, his words.
Well, Elton, to be fair, brought Harry into this, introduced Harry to David Sherborne. And then Harry brought in Doreen Lawrence. And I think they really thought they would have this huge, strong claim if like all 7 of them, because there was, of course, Elizabeth Hurley, Sadie Frost, or Simon Hughes as well, if they all were together as a group. 97 freaking complaints made, and they were all tossed.
And it didn't stop there. Weddings, public battles, media storms. Elton showed up. In 2018, at Harry's wedding, he was there center stage playing for the son of the woman he adored. In 2019, when pressure mounted against Harry and Meghan, Elton didn't stay silent. He stepped forward instantly, defending them, invoking Diana's memory, calling out the very forces he believed contributed to her death. That's not casual support. That's someone stepping into the line of fire again and again for decades.
He is still angry about a story in a newspaper from 20 years ago, and if you upset this prince, he's gonna get ya. Doesn't matter how long it takes, he's gonna come for you. He went for the newspaper, and then he went for the individual journalists, and really went after them in the most vicious way.
So when the tone changes, when the same man is now reportedly saying something as cold as "I am not an ATM," you have to ask yourself, what changed? What finally pushed this relationship past its breaking point?
First of all, it was an absolute resounding beating. It was thrown out, and the judge was almost annoyed that this had got as far as it had. People were perplexed. When Harry started this, when he went after the Daily Mail, this was for stories a long time ago. Talk about holding a grudge. Talk about not being able to move on. Him and Meghan present themselves as happier than ever, living in Montecito, and here's Harry still fighting battles from decades ago. So nobody really understood why he was doing this. I know from my sources he was advised not to do this. Any reputable lawyer that he spoke to in London would tell him this is almost impossible to prove and hence to win.
Because the courtroom loss wasn't just symbolic, it was devastating in cold legal reality. A high court judge dismantled the entire case in a 436-page judgment. Every claim dismissed, every argument rejected. And this wasn't Harry standing alone. This was a lineup of high-profile names: Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Elizabeth Hurley, Sadie Frost, Elton John, David Furnish, all tied to the same outcome. And when cases like this collapse, they don't just end quietly. They come with consequences, financial ones, massive ones, and suddenly the question isn't just who lost, it's who pays. And this is where the silence starts to feel strategic, because some of those involved were reportedly assured they wouldn't pay a penny, that the financial burden would be handled, that everything was under control. But now the bill has arrived, and one name in that room has the power to cover it. Just one, and it's not Prince Harry. And that's where the entire story tightens like a vice, because once the money enters the room, everything else suddenly starts making sense in a way that feels almost uncomfortable. Prince Harry didn't just walk out of that courtroom angry. Prince Harry walked out exposed, and the reaction that followed only made it worse. Prince Harry didn't stay quiet, didn't regroup, didn't absorb the loss. Prince Harry lashed out, calling the ruling a complete and obvious whitewash, aiming that accusation directly at Justice Nicklin after a 436-page judgment had already laid everything bare. That wasn't just frustration, that was escalation. And in royal terms, that kind of language isn't just unusual, it's explosive, because Prince Harry is still technically a royal, and that comes with rules, unspoken ones, that Prince Harry seemed more than willing to ignore in that moment. But here's the detail that people keep circling circling back to. The one that doesn't shout, but whispers something far more telling. When Prince Harry released that furious statement, one name was missing. Elton John. The same Elton John who had helped assemble the case. The same Elton John who stood beside Prince Harry in that courtroom disaster. The same Elton John who now faces the financial aftermath absent. Completely not criticized, not defended, just left out. And in a situation this charged, silence like that isn't neutral. Silence feels deliberate. Silence feels like distance. Because behind the scenes, the financial pressure wasn't just theoretical, it was immediate. Reports began surfacing that Prince Harry was already scrambling, needing to raise enormous sums in a matter of weeks. The Invictus Games, Prince Harry's signature project, the one meant to showcase resilience and purpose, suddenly looked like it was facing a staggering shortfall. £25 million. That's not a gap you quietly fill, that's a crisis. And when Prince Harry traveled to Britain, it wasn't just about courtrooms, it was about money. It was about finding support, finding backers, finding someone willing to step in before the entire structure started to crack. And that's where the optics became brutal, because the fundraising effort didn't land the way Prince Harry needed it to. Events that were meant to feel triumphant looked underwhelming. Donations that were expected to flow simply didn't. And the deeper issue started to surface: cost. The cost of security, the cost of presence, the cost of Prince Harry himself, because every appearance came with layers of protection, layers of expense. And people started asking the question nobody wants to ask out loud: was Prince Harry becoming a financial liability to the very cause Prince Harry built? And when that realization settles in, the next move suddenly feels inevitable. Prince Harry turned to the one person who had never turned away before: Elton John. The same Elton John already tied to a legal bill that could spiral into tens of millions. The same Elton John already carrying the weight of a case that had just collapsed. And according to what's being said, Prince Harry asked again, asked for support, asked for money. And that's when the line appeared. Not loud, not public, just 4 words that cut through everything: I am not an ATM. And suddenly, everything shifts, because this isn't just about one refusal. This is about a pattern people are starting to recognize. Names that once stood close: Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, Amal Clooney. The Beckhams now spoken about in the same breath as distance. Support that once felt automatic now feels conditional. And Elton John, the man who stood closer than almost anyone, is now being described as the latest to step back. Not dramatically, not publicly, just enough. And while all of this unfolds, another layer quietly builds in the background. Meghan Markle, watching from thousands of miles away, reportedly frustrated, reportedly questioning why this legal battle was pursued at all. Because the cost isn't just financial anymore, it's relational, it's reputational. And in a week being described as Prince Harry's worst in decades, the absence of visible support becomes its own kind of statement. Then come the numbers, and they don't just tell a story, they underline it. Prince Harry's annual expenses: millions in security, staffing, mortgage stacking up against an income that doesn't quite match the image. Around $22 million in total assets, much of it inheritance from Diana and the late Queen, slowly being chipped away year by year. Add legal losses, add ongoing obligations, add a lifestyle that doesn't scale down easily. And suddenly, the margin for error disappears. And maybe the most revealing moment of all comes not in a courtroom, not in a headline, but in a simple question: occupation. What does Prince Harry do? The answer doesn't land cleanly. It drifts. Prince Harry, veteran, dad, duke, and that hesitation, that uncertainty, becomes symbolic of something bigger, an identity that no longer fits neatly into the structures that once defined it.